the morning papers, darling.
Thanks.
Anything wrong with breakfast?
No.
You were up early.
Oh, I couldn't sleep, so I went for a ride around the farm.
Any fresh cases?
5 more cows than that young Hereford bull I just bought.
Oh, no.
But I think it was, that new vaccine seems to have taken effect. And the vet says we needn't slaughter anymore.
Thank heaven for that. All I keep on wondering is why does it have to happen to us?
Not only to us, to every farmer in the district. It's just hit us harder, that's all, and at the wrong time.
From Sidrom? What does he say?
What does he always say lately? Sugar?
Oh, sorry, darling.
I can't meet the note. He wants the farm.
Jim, I'm sure you're wrong. He was a farmer. He understands these sudden plagues.
Charles Sidrom doesn't remember being a farmer. He forgot that when he became a moneylender. Well, the last few times I've tried to see him, he's refused to allow it. He always makes poor Phil Glynas deliver his rotten messages.
He won't sell you out. He knows how hard you've worked. He knows the labor you've put into the ground. Nobody could be that unfair.
No one but Sidrom. 10 years of my life out the window. Because of a little bug that infects my cattle and a money-hungry cannibal like Sidrom. I control the bug before it wipes us clean, but I can't control this Sidrom. Damn. We'll lose the farm, Stella. But he'll never forget me. I swear he won't.
Jim, don't go when you're angry. When you're in a temper, anything can happen.
You've got to make him understand. Look, I've sweated and I've broken my heart a couple of times, but this time now, look, I've got the beginnings of a paying dairy farm. Oh, it isn't fair of him to foreclose. All I need is time.
I know that, Jim. And I'm sure Sidrom knows it, too. But it won't matter one iota what I say. You see, he has a theory. If you can't repay when due, there's no sense in prolonging the inevitable.
Well, that's just it. Give him another few months and I'll be able to. Look, I'm willing to give him an additional 5%. Make him give me more time.
If it was my decision, I'd give you any extension you wanted. Honestly, your best chance is to ask him yourself.
Oh, I tried that a little while ago. I couldn't even get past his houseboy. Said his master didn't want to see me.
Well, I'm afraid that's your answer. Sidrom treated the other farmers in the same way. It means...
That he's going to foreclose on me. I know. Thanks. Thanks very much.
What are you going to do?
Go back and make him see me. And when I get through with him, he isn't going to worry about money anymore.
Now, Jim, cool off first. An angry man's easy prey for it. He'll only make a fool of him.
No, he won't. He's through making a fool of anyone.
Give me pictures from every angle, particularly close-up of Sidlum's head. Get them through as quickly as you can, will you?
Yes, sir.
Carl, fingerprints of everything. Check them with our files. If you come up with anything interesting, let me know.
Yes, sir.
In the meantime, handle this riding crop very carefully. Just unless the coroner has other ideas, that's the murder weapon.
I understand, Mr. Douglas.
All right, Mr. Glynas. This is for the record, so I want you to think very carefully before you answer my questions.
Well, certainly, Inspector. But I'm afraid what I have to say won't be very helpful.
Oh, does it bother you talking to the corpse in the room? Would you rather go somewhere else?
No. No, it's just difficult to believe he's dead.
I understand. What happened this morning?
Well, actually, very little, Inspector. As you know, I'm employed by Mr. Sidrom.
Mm-hmm.
At least I was employed by him. A few months ago, he insisted we work here rather than at the office. He felt we accomplished more away from the office traffic and constant telephone interruptions.
Please continue.
Well, there's very little else to say. I arrived this morning, houseboy let me in. I found Mr. Sidrom dead. Then I called your office.
Didn't touch anything?
Nothing at all.
Good. When was the last time you saw Mr. Sidrom alive?
Yesterday, when we finished the day's work.
I see. What exactly is your job, Mr. Glynas?
Secretary, bookkeeper, runner, office boy, chauffeur. I was a jack of all trades. Mr. Sidrom referred to me frequently as his associate. It wasn't true, but it kept me from asking for a raise.
This is a very important question. Who do you think murdered him?
It could have been anyone.
Oh, please try a bit more specific. Surely you know of someone who had a grievance against him?
Well, there was some farmer who did business with him. Lately, there's been a few foreclosures.
Do you have a list of these foreclosures?
Well, not with me, but they're in the files.
Apart from the names of the list, you have any idea who might dislike him enough to murder him? Now, please, Mr. Linus. Let me remind you that withholding information is a serious offense.
And accusing somebody of murder is equally serious.
I'm not asking you to accuse anybody. I'm merely inviting your comments as to who might have murdered him.
Very well, Inspector. Do you know James Stevens?
Very slightly.
Well, then perhaps you know that Jim has a very bad temper. Oh, please understand me. I'm not suggesting that the two things tie together.
What two things?
Well, his temper and Mr. Sidrom's murder. So I ask you to keep an open mind.
Just tell me what you know, Mr. Glidus. Let me control my own mind.
Well, I saw Jim at my club yesterday evening. He was very upset. Very angry. But saying something which might incriminate an innocent person is very disturbing. It's even more distressing when that person happens to be a close friend.
You haven't incriminated anyone.
Well, thanks. Do you need me for anything else?
Is there anything else you can tell me?
I'm afraid not. Is it permissible for you to tell me what you're going to do?
Yeah, I'm going to see James Stevens. After that, the farmers who lost their farm to Mr. Sidrom.
So you believe the foreclosures and the murder tie together?
Can you think of any other possible explanation? All right, boys, finish up here as quickly as you can. I'll be at Stevens' farm.
Right, sir.
Like to see your husband, Mrs. Stevens.
He's not here, Inspector.
And you told me where he is?
No.
You know why I'm here?
Yes.
They should realize it's no use trying to play cat and mouse with me.
Jim's a good man, Inspector. No matter what you do to me, I'm not going to make your job easy. If you want to find him, you can look for him yourself.
Man's been killed, Mrs. Stevens. So far, your husband's only a suspect. I must tell you that the longer he stays away, the more guilty he seems.
I don't care. Charles Sidrom deserved to die. I'm not saying Jim was right. I don't think any man should take the law into his own hands. But Sidrom brought on his own death. He drove Jim to it.
Then your husband did kill him?
Yes, he told me when he came home last night.
When did he leave?
Early this morning.
Why didn't he take you with him?
A man travels faster alone. I'll meet him later.
Mrs. Stevens, if I don't find him, somebody else will. No matter where he goes, he'll never find peace. The world just isn't big enough to hide a murderer.
I don't want to hear any more.
I'm afraid you must. You know where he is and you don't tell me, you're acting as an accomplice. Now, look, I know exactly how you feel, but I can't condone it. Where is he?
I don't want to tell you. I don't want Jim to cause any more trouble.
Any more trouble?
He's still angry, and he has a bad temper. He says if he's caught before he crosses the border, he won't be taken alive. That means he'll make a fight for it, and he's an expert marksman. I don't want anybody else to be killed.
Just tell me where he is, Mrs. Stevens.
He crossed into Tanganyika by way of Lake Shelton.
Thank you. Gun, you're covered. All right, get out. Glad you didn't try and use this.
I thought for a minute I could have hit you. I'd have used it, Inspector.
Well, what more do you want me to say?
Maybe you shouldn't say anything till you talk to your counsel.
I won't be hiring any counsel. You better write this in your book, Inspector. I killed Charles Sidrom, and I was trying to escape into Tanganyika. Write it down, and I'll sign it. You can also add that I'm waiving trial by jury.
Are you sure that's what you want?
I killed Charles Sidrom. Let's go, Inspector.
Go ahead. Hi, Tim.
Hiya.
How's everything in the test tube department, huh?
Haven't had a complaint since the day I received my first patient.
Well.
Guess that means they're satisfied with the service.
Because they always come in dead. What would you do with a live patient?
That wouldn't be any fun. This way I know just what goes on inside of them. For example, take Sidrom. If Stevens had talked to his doctor first, he never would have had to kill him.
Why?
Because he was suffering from an incurable disease. At the most, he had 30 days to live. See what I mean?
Oh, sure. Criminals always talked it over before they did a crime. 99% of them wouldn't happen, and you and I would be out of a job.
Well, here's our report on the Sidrom findings.
Sure. Do the Stevens fingerprints match those on the riding crop?
There's no way of telling, Paul. That riding crop had been wiped clean of all prints. You seem disappointed.
No, I'm just curious. Can you explain why it is that somebody uses a riding crop as a murder weapon, then carefully wipes it clean, and then carelessly leaves it alongside the body?
No, I can't. But I'm not a quizmaster.
You're sure that Sidrom was an invalid?
Not just an invalid. He was mortally ill.
I want to know all the medical men that attended Charles Sidrom. Check on every clinic and every specialist in Nairobi.
Right away, sir. What's eating you?
An idea, Tim. Believe it or not, an idea.
He was critically ill, Inspector. And I agree he could not have survived for more than 4 weeks.
How long was he ill, Doctor?
Oh, for some time. But unfortunately, neither of us realized how seriously until 3 months ago. I told him quite frankly what it was and what I believed his expectancy of life to be.
Was he bedridden?
Practically. Although for the first month he was able to get down to his study and work for 2 or 3 hours each day.
How about the last 2 days?
Mr. Sidrom, during the last weeks of his life, was under constant sedatives. His mind was unable to retain a thought for more than a fleeting moment. His loss would be felt for many years.
Why, Doctor?
He was one of the most decent human beings I have ever known. My clinic was built entirely from his personal donations, yet he never permitted me to say from whom I obtained the money.
Would you say that his generosity was based on his personal friendship for you, or was he a charitable man?
His counselor, Martin Dillingham, can answer that factually. As far as I'm concerned, his generosity had nothing to do with friendship. It welled from deep within his soul.
Thank you, Doctor. You're very helpful. Goodbye.
I've been Mr. Sidrom's attorney for the last 25 years, Inspector. He was an incredible man. Do you know very much about his personal background?
No, very little, apart from the fact that he was quite wealthy.
He was worth millions. But that's of little importance compared to other things.
I don't quite understand, Mr. Dillingham.
Well, for example, immediately on hearing how very ill he was, he insisted on my drafting his will. He left the bulk of his fortune to our university, with instructions that it should be spent on building the finest agricultural school in East Africa. He also created a fund for 50 yearly scholarships. And he left an endowment to Dr. Thornhill's clinic so that it can never be affected by our changing economy.
Well, then how'd you account for the fact that he recently foreclosed on 3 farms?
That's a vicious lie, Inspector. The will condones all debts, whether they're personal or business ventures. Foreclosures. Who would dare make such a statement?
Philip Blinos?
Philip said that. I can't for the life of me understand why.
Neither do I, Mr. Dillingham. I think it only fair to give him a chance to explain. Goodbye, sir.
Well, Inspector, there's no mystery about the foreclosures. When they fell due, Mr. Sidrom gave me the chance to buy the notes he had, and I did.
Why would he allow you to buy them?
Who knows? Maybe it was his way of repaying me for all my faithful years of service.
Have the assignment papers? Yes. Check that his signature's genuine?
Absolutely, Inspector.
And you wouldn't mind if I have it examined by an expert?
If you have the slightest doubt, please do.
Why didn't you tell me that Sidrom was a sick man?
Because I didn't think it was anything for us to discuss. His vanity was enormous, Inspector. He instructed the few of us who saw him daily not to disclose his state of health to anyone. He was a man of many idiosyncrasies.
I see that all your farms are in the same area. In fact, they're border to border. Jim Stevens' farm is the only missing link.
Uh-huh. That's why I bought them when they were offered. I thought it would make up an attractive parcel of land.
Are you going to claim the Stevens land?
Why not? I bought his note when it fell due. It's mine.
Must be over 100 square miles of land in these 4 farms. Why do you need so much land, Mr. Glynas?
I don't know. Perhaps because I couldn't resist a good bargain.
Could it have been a bargain because Sidrom didn't know what he was doing?
He knew enough to have me deposit the purchase money in his bank. Now, Inspector, if you have any further questions to ask, I'm afraid I have to discuss them with my attorney. I've given you all the time I can spare. I must now return to my work.
So must I. I don't believe you, Glynas. Not only that, but from this point on, I'm going to turn over every rock in your life. And if I come back, it won't be for a friendly call. For the next few days, I did little else but examine the past of Philip Glynas. No matter where I looked, the answer was the same. He was respected, admired, and trusted. Another quick examination of Mr. Sidrom's bank account proved Glynas' statement to be the truth. Amounts covering the purchase for each note had been deposited. The record further showed that each foreclosed property had in fact been filed in Glynas' name. Go in.
I don't know if this old newspaper article is important, sir, but you said you wanted to see everything we found out about Mr. Glynas.
Right. Uh-huh. On this beautiful September day during a cocktail party given at the Calago Country Club, Philip Glynas made it even more beautiful by announcing to his friends the pleasant news that he and Stella Lawrence would be wed in the spring. Sergeant, you've done very well.
Was my maiden name, Inspector. It hardly seems possible that 5 years have passed already. That's the day I met Jim.
What happened?
What always happens. I was captivated by his strength. I romanticized and convinced myself I was in love. We got married, and that's the whole story.
Are you happy?
Farming isn't what I expected it to be, Inspector.
Oh? In what way?
It's hard, thankless work. A piece of ground shows you no mercy. You till it, you pamper it, you put your life into it. And then one day, nature pays you back with a little bug. It destroys the crop and all your cattle. I hate farming, Inspector. I hate everything about it.
I take it you'll be leaving after the trial.
Yes. Nothing can save Jim. This house is no longer ours. I'll raise what I can by selling all the livestock and furniture. And I'll move into the city.
You know, you sound relieved.
I've only described to you the hardships of farming, Inspector. Do you realize what living with a man like Jim Stevens means? Every time something went wrong, it'd fly off the handle. He'd break windows and dishes and everything he could lay his hands on. When he was in a temper, he was like an insane man. Living with Jim was like living on the edge of a precipice. I'm glad I'm rid of that, too.
That would be why you told me he was an expert marksman. You really wanted me to kill him, didn't you?
That's a question I don't have to answer, Inspector.
And with Jim Stevens' temper, it's a good thing you didn't realize how very much you hate him.
That's a problem I'll never have to face.
So, Stevens, I want to tell you one thing. I'm not at all sure that your husband did kill Charles Sidrom. And I'm going to do everything in my power to find out who did.
Never know how desperately I've longed to see you.
I was afraid to telephone. Has he been here, Stella?
Who, darling?
Oh, Jim, he escaped yesterday evening. The morning papers are full of it.
But he hasn't been here?
But if he isn't caught, Stella, everything we want, everything we've planned will be ruined.
They'll find him, Philip. They'll find him.
I felt certain he'd find his way here.
Thank heavens you're here, Phil. You'll have to loan us your automobile. It's the only way we can keep ahead of them.
We?
Well, you and I, Stella. This time we're going together. Without you, there's nothing for me to live for. Look, I've a way to the border they can never track. And we can hide out in some native villages. Well, what difference does it make where we live, so long as we're together?
No, I'm not staying. I can't stand you. You're an escaped murderer. And you've got to give yourself up.
Well, that isn't true, Stella. You killed Sidrom. We both know that.
You are a fool. I didn't kill him. Phil did. With your riding crop. Do you want to know the truth? I hate you. I despise you. And you've been framed.
Why, Stella? What wrong have I ever done you?
You took me away from Phil. I've hated you for years. I thought I'd lost Phil until life gave us a second chance. And you're not going to cheat me out of it. Oh, not me.
I don't understand. I don't understand anything you're saying.
It isn't very complicated. You were framed. There was oil in the area. The cattle were inoculated. And Phil was able to buy up the notes as they became due.
Then why was it necessary to kill Sidrom?
Because in one of his lucid moments, he found out what was happening. He had to die. Just like you must die now. An escaping murderer.
You're rotten. Both of you. Did you really kill me, Stella?
Drop that gun, Mrs. Stevens. Better drop it. I'm taking you in for murder.
Jim was right. We are rotten. Aren't we, Stella? All right, Inspector. After you. Stella.
Mr. Stevens, you're going to have to fill in some blank spots for me.
All right, Inspector. What is it you want to know?
When you broke into Sidrom's house, what did you see?
Oh, he was lying on the floor. His head was covered with blood. And then I saw my riding crop and I realized Stella must have killed him.
What'd you do?
I rushed out of the house and drove straight home.
Then what happened?
Stella told me that she'd killed him accidentally. She'd gone there to plead with him not to foreclose, but he only laughed at her. She said all she could remember was hitting him over and over again with my crop.
And then?
I told her not to worry. I said if I was caught, I'd admit to killing him. You see, Inspector, I figured that if she hadn't gone there to help me, this would never have happened. I'll never know why I didn't take that riding crop with me.
Good thing you didn't. If I'd have found one of your fingerprints on it, I'd never have suspected that you didn't kill him. I'm pretty sure that when Glynis wiped it clean, he knew that you'd pick it up the moment you saw it. Actually, you reacted differently from 9 out of 10 men.
It was an accident.
Very lucky accident.